Imagine being shut out of the exciting shift to electric cars simply because the charging stations aren't built with everyone in mind. That's the heartbreaking situation facing countless disabled drivers today. As our world leans into greener mobility, we can't ignore how accessibility gaps are leaving some behind, threatening their freedom on the roads. But here's where it gets controversial. Is the government truly prioritizing all citizens in this electric revolution, or are marginalized groups getting overlooked once again? Let's dive in and explore this pressing issue, breaking it down step by step so it's clear even for newcomers to the topic. Renowned Paralympian and advocate Tanni Grey-Thompson is sounding the alarm, along with groups like the Electric Vehicle Association England. They argue that without proper rules in place, disabled drivers could find themselves sidelined as the UK transitions to electric vehicles, EVs. The core problem? Many public charging points are simply not accessible, making it tough for those with disabilities to plug in and power up. Grey-Thompson, a 11-time gold medal winner from 5 Paralympic Games, now serves as a crossbench peer in the House of Lords. She's no stranger to fighting for better transport options, having once been forced to crawl off a train last year due to lack of assistance, a stark reminder of ongoing barriers in our infrastructure. In her own words, Grey-Thompson shares a personal struggle. Disabled people have been completely forgotten about. I've tried to change to an electric car a couple of times. It has been really hard going. They, the government, just forget about us because there's not that many disabled people in positions of power. Her frustration highlights a broader exclusion where policy decisions seem to overlook those without a voice at the top. And this is the part most people miss. It's not just about convenience, it's about equality and independence for millions. The UK is rapidly expanding its charging network, with an impressive 17,400 public chargers installed in the year leading up to July. That's roughly 2 every hour, according to recent reports. Yet, without enforced standards, reliability is hit or miss for disabled users. Common hurdles include elevated curbs or gravel surfaces that block wheelchair access, touchscreens mounted too high or tilted awkwardly for seated users, and even the sheer weight of charging cables, which can be a real challenge for those with limited strength. Picture trying to maneuver a heavy cord while seated. It's more than frustrating. It can feel defeating. Good news arrived midweek when the House of Lords approved an amendment to the government's Planning and Infrastructure Bill. This change would empower authorities to require accessibility standards for public chargers, paving the way for a more inclusive setup. Conservative peer Jamie Borwick, who proposed the amendment, warned that installing chargers without these features now would create long-term problems. Drawing from his background as a former leader of London taxi maker Manganese Bronze, he emphasized, "You've got to design for disability from the very beginning. Otherwise, when petrol and diesel cars phase out by 2035, disabled drivers might have nowhere safe to charge, locking them out of the EV future." Supporting this push, Vicky Edmonds from EVA England stresses the urgency. "We're currently risking millions of drivers being locked out of the transition to electric vehicles." Nearly half of EV drivers are struggling with accessibility of public charging, and the number of public charge points continues to increase by a quarter year-on-year last year. She calls for the government to release its updated accessibility standards and gain the authority to make them mandatory, ensuring the industry is motivated to build for all. Research from the Motability Foundation, a charity that helps subsidize vehicles for disabled people, reveals the scale: up to 1.35 million disabled drivers in the UK, with about 390,000 lacking home charging options. Alarmingly, only 2.3% of existing chargers meet the British Standards Institution's criteria, outlined in PAS 1899, a guideline for accessible design that stalled in efforts to make it more practical. And here's a controversial twist. Cuts to the Motability scheme are on the table, as Chancellor Rachel Reeves considers welfare adjustments ahead of a challenging budget. Does this mean sacrificing mobility aid for disabled individuals to balance the books? It's a tough question that pits fiscal responsibility against human rights. Nigel Fletcher, head of the Motability Foundation, insists on mandatory standards. It is vital that all providers of public EV charging are taking responsibility for ensuring that their infrastructure is accessible. Meanwhile, Vicky read from Charge UK notes that operators are collaborating with local authorities and manufacturers to address needs, but practical obstacles often persist, like site limitations or equipment incompatibilities. The Department for Transport responds positively. We are fully committed to ensuring disabled drivers can easily charge their electric cars, which is why we commissioned a review into accessibility standards for charge points. The review has now concluded, and its findings will be published shortly. We continue to work with industry on how we can further strengthen access to chargers for disabled drivers. It's a step forward, but will it be enough to close the gap? As we look ahead, the electric car boom promises cleaner air and less reliance on fossil fuels, benefits for everyone. But for disabled drivers, it's a double-edged sword if accessibility isn't baked in from the start. What do you think? Should the government prioritize inclusive standards before expanding the network, or is there a better way to balance innovation with equity? Do you agree that forgetting disabled voices in policy is a systemic issue, or is there room for more grassroots solutions? Share your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep the conversation going and push for a truly accessible future.